Today's incredible Trooping the Colour ceremony marks King Charles's official birthday as monarch, and there was one notable absentee, Prince Harry. I've got the inside story. Now, Trooping the Colour is the official celebration of the British monarch's birthday, even if their real birthday falls on another date. So, for example, Charles's birthday is actually the 14th of November 1948. What a special time to arrive in the world 3 years after the end of the Second World War. So every monarch has two birthdays. It's a tradition that goes back almost 300 years. It was started by King George II in 1748 for the most British reason you can imagine. So his actual birthday was in November, just like King Charles. But Britain's weather is famously terrible in the autumn and winter. Cold, wet, rainy, cloudy, a complete washout. So, as a king of great vision, just like our current incumbent, King George II decided to move his official birthday to the summer. What a lovely thing to be able to do. I was born in March. I'd quite like to be a July baby. I think we should all have two birthdays. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Double the presents, two parties every year. What's not to like? So this happened almost 300 years ago. And what King George did, he moved his official celebration to the summer, allowing for a military parade and public festivities in far better conditions. Because, of course, it's not just good news for the soldiers who are out there on parade. It's not just good news for the king and queen herself and families that are attending. It is the public who won't get completely soaked if they come out to celebrate as well. So June is quite a good time of the year for the UK. In fact, it's been stunningly sunny all weekend. It's perfect. The timing couldn't be better. Perfect for the pomp and pageantry of events like Trooping the Colour, which this year was a vintage offering with, as I say, one notable absentee who I shall deal with in no uncertain terms in just a moment. So, this is a ceremonial military parade, Trooping the Colour. It features over 1,400 soldiers, 200 horses and 400 musicians. It's one of the oldest and grandest displays of British pageantry, dating back more than 260 years. It's so special, and it is the perfect rebuff to anyone that thinks that Britain shouldn't have a monarchy, because it's just fantastic for Britain as a global brand. These pictures will be bounced and beamed across the world, not just the footage of the whole family at the balcony at Buckingham Palace and King Charles inspecting the troops and all the rest of it, but still photography as well. Those pictures will be everywhere, and they will be a matter of historic record. So it's held every June on Horse Guards Parade in Whitehall, at the very heart of British government. It culminates in the royal family balcony appearance, as I mentioned, at Buckingham Palace, and an amazing flypast by the RAF, the Royal Air Force. 2025 marks King Charles III's second Trooping the Colour as monarch, though he's been involved for decades, of course, as the Prince of Wales. The ceremony dates back to the 17th century, rooted in the practical need for troop identification on the battlefield. In the days before modern communication, regimental flags, the colours, were vital rallying points in battle. And I will say, without being too bloodthirsty, that Britain does have something of a glorious and very successful military past. So these colours were trooped or paraded before the soldiers so they could recognise and follow them into the chaos of combat. So this isn't just pomp, it comes from wartime necessity and discipline. So it's an amazing tradition, and of course Prince Harry chose to be absent. Can you believe it? Now I'll tell you why I think he should have been there in just a moment. But let me tell you about the monarch's birthday parade. In 1748, the decision was made to combine the military ceremony with the sovereign's official birthday for the first ever time. And that's a lovely thing. Queen Elizabeth II was born in April, but her official birthday, again, celebrated in June. And it is just something to be so proud of. Myself, as a Brit of Irish parentage, I couldn't be more proud. And what have you got? You've got guardsmen in red tunics and bearskin hats. Iconic imagery of British ceremonial regalia. The sovereign, senior royals and young heirs waving to thousands on the Mall and millions at home. And let's be honest, billions around the world. And today was very special because today was a clear message to the prodigal prince, Prince Harry. This was the royal family putting together a united front to mark King Charles's official birthday in London at such a critical time in the history of this country, a critical time in the world. There are lots of problems in the world, as you will well know. The most awful air crash in the last couple of days, devastating, which is why I'm dressed this way, out of respect for the tragedy that was the Air India crash. A couple of other tragedies, by the way, a personal tragedy for Prince William, which I'll tell you about in just a moment, a close friend in a tragic and freak accident. So today's celebration is tinged with sadness. You've also got the growing conflict in the Middle East. So all of that is happening. The threat of World War III, nuclear Armageddon. Meanwhile, the Duke and Duchess of double standards over there in Montecito moaning about their terrible lives. So it's a bittersweet occasion. But the Trooping the Colour celebration today is very much the royal family, the firm, saying, actually, we're looking at the bigger picture here. We're celebrating history. We're celebrating the United Kingdom. We're celebrating the monarchy. We're celebrating people power because there are literally hundreds of thousands of people in attendance. The public love the royal family and they're waving their flags and participating in what has been a lovely day in perfect weather. Now, let's talk about what the king got up to today. Due to his ongoing cancer treatment, I didn't realise, or I don't know if Harry got the memo that his father is battling cancer, because you'd think that would be a reason for Harry to be here. I'll get to that in a second. But first, the king, because of his cancer, did not ride on horseback as is customary. Normally he would be on horseback, which is a wonderful tradition. It looks fantastic. But he joined the procession in a state carriage, which is fantastic. A symbolic yet practical adjustment reflecting his current health. The parade culminated in the traditional Buckingham Palace balcony appearance. The crowd gathered along the Mall, watched the red arrows fly overhead in tight formation. Now, do you know about the red arrows? That's when these planes fly in unison, like a school of pigeons. And it's amazingly mathematically accurate and perfectly symmetrical as these jets fly through the sky. And they often have red smoke coming out of the back of the plane, and it all just crisscrosses into a magical piece of art. I will say, I always think the red arrows are tempting fate. Okay. And I do hope, I've got two sons and we don't name them for their privacy. Let's call them Elton and Bernie. I hope that Elton or Bernie never decides that they're going to join the Red Arrows. If they want to, they can. It's their lives. I won't dictate. I'm a very liberal-minded person. But I hope that they don't, because I find it treacherously dangerous, the Red Arrow display. But it looks great. And I think it takes a certain personality, doesn't it, to be a Red Arrows pilot. And we need those people in life. You've got the Hellraisers, haven't you? I go on holiday once a year to Italy, and there's a big rock. And some people jump off it. Other people don't, such as yours truly. I find the nearest bar and enjoy a very cold Peroni. That's how I manage the risk. That's my jeopardy, folks. And watch other people jump into the sea from a terrible rock. It's called tombstoning. Have you heard about this? People jumping off rocks. You don't know how deep that water is. Are you out of your tiny mind? But it's the Italians, so anything goes. It's a maverick nation of fabulous people. So anyway, look, speaking of maverick nations, today was a wonderful celebration of the UK. The royal children smiled and waved from the balcony, offering a familiar, heartwarming moment. There was also a tribute to the Air India crash victims. In an emotional change to tradition, the event included solemn tributes to victims of the Air India plane crash, which took the lives, and I cannot believe this figure, of 241 people. May they rest in peace and may God love them. Isn't that the most shocking thing? 241 people. And it was Air India on its way to London, my home city, from where we are broadcasting today. 241 out of 242 people passed. And so the royals wore black armbands and a minute's silence was observed during the parade. And this is what the royal family are like. This is what the monarchy is like. That they think outside the box. They're looking beyond their own personal needs and interests. Yes, it's King Charles's day in the royal family, but it doesn't stop them reflecting on the wider world and what's happening in a tragedy like that. So fair play to the royals for wearing their black armbands. It's the right thing to do. And that crash, I mean, can I just tell you that the one survivor is a lovely man called Vivwash Kumar Ramesh, who is 40, British man, lives in London. He's one of my cohabitants in this great city. He was on seat 11A, which will now become apocryphal on that flight, next to the emergency exit. The only person to to survive the crash. And in his own words, after takeoff, he said the aircraft suddenly began descending before it split apart. He said, "It felt like the plane had got stuck. I don't know how I came out of it alive." He was ejected from the aircraft mid-descent, possibly as the fuselage broke. I mean, the accident's a freak incident, and his survival is even more freakish, and thank goodness he did survive. He said, "Immediately after takeoff, the plane began descending and suddenly split in two, ejecting me." He described the moment in which he regained consciousness. "For a while, I thought I was about to die, but when I opened my eyes, I saw I was alive, and I opened my seatbelt and got out of there." He remembered seeing the two crew members pass before his eyes. That's something he'll never unsee. That will be with him till his grave. And so that's two cabin crew that he saw pass with his own eyes. Once outside the wreckage, he said, "When I got up, there was the evidence of the tragedy all around him. I will go into no more detail than that. The carnage." He said, "I was scared. I stood up and I ran. There were pieces of the plane all around me." And regarding his escape, he said, "Someone grabbed hold of me and put me in an ambulance and brought me to hospital. And quite miraculously, this guy does not have significant injuries." Isn't that amazing? And it's the worst possible story, but just joyous that this man was spared. And the person that was not spared among many of those hundreds was his younger brother, also aboard the flight, who is gone. So today is definitely bittersweet. And like I said, it's brilliant that the royal family have acknowledged that tragedy. Can we talk about how incredible the royals looked? Can we talk about Queen Camilla? Because some people have said to me that they think she's not a good-looking woman. I mean, I'll put it out there now. People have said to me that she's horse-like and that she's plain. Well, I think they're plain wrong. I think Queen Camilla is a very elegant and beautiful lady. I think she's very dignified. I think she hasn't put a foot wrong since she married Charles. She's got a dry sense of humour. She's down to earth. She supports amazing causes like domestic violence. She doesn't enjoy the best of health. I've spent time talking to Tom Bower, who, of course, is Harry and Meghan's biographer and one of the country's most devastatingly effective biographers and journalists. The most feared biographer in Britain, by far. And why? Because he drops truth bombs, just like the Mark Dolan show. And he told me that he said that Camilla does not enjoy the best of health and that it's quite exhausting for her to have this public role. But she's so stoic, she's so committed, and she loves her husband so much that she does it. He also said that Queen Camilla had no great desire to be queen. She's happy to be queen and she's honoured and privileged and all the rest of it. But it wasn't an ambition of hers. Not like someone like Meghan Markle, whose ambition is unlimited. And I think didn't realise when she married Harry that as Harry was the spare, she'd be the spare too. And it absolutely sickens her that Princess Catherine is a more senior royal. And that's why she had to get out. That's why Megxit happened. Because she knew that she couldn't compete with Princess Catherine. So she'd rather go to California, take Harry with her, and essentially exit the fight. You cannot compete with Princess Catherine, particularly once she's crowned queen. So Camilla looked fantastic. So I disagree. I think Camilla, dignified person, good-humoured. But yeah, Tom Bower said that she's not particularly in the best of her. She doesn't enjoy the very best of health, but for that she does so well. And she is Charles's rock. Can you imagine him having to do this role as monarch without her? I think it's unimaginable. She is so important, particularly given that he's not that long ago lost his father and his mother. So she's indispensable. And not just that, she's gorgeous. And today she was regal in white. She stood out in a silk crepe dress with silver embroidery by someone called Anna Valentine. She wore a hat by Philip Treacy, who's the famous milliner, and a Grenadier Guards brooch pinned to her chest. Her appearance drew complete praise for its understated elegance. That is Camilla. I am an unapologetic fan. I will say there's a complex background. Diana felt that Camilla was the homewrecker. She gave that BBC interview in which she said there were three of us in this marriage. I understand that. So many royal watchers don't like Queen Camilla, and some have told me on record that she's not their queen. And I know one person in particular, a very famous broadcaster called Nina Mishkov, who's a very, very fearless and legendary journalist. And she said that she's not my queen and never will be, which caused quite a storm when she said that on my old TV show. Is Camilla your queen? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? So, she's been described. One royal watcher said the queen was a vision in white. Then you had Princess Katherine and Princess Charlotte, mother and daughter, of course. Coordinated elegance is what it's being described as, because the Princess of Wales travelled by carriage with her 3 children, George, Charlotte and Louis. She wore a stunning turquoise coat dress by someone called Catherine Walker, a hat by Juliet Botterill, and the Irish Guards regimental brooch. Earrings, once worn by Queen Elizabeth II, added a sentimental touch. Isn't it wonderful that Queen Elizabeth was represented at the Trooping the Colour in her absence by her stunning granddaughter, the wonderful... she a granddaughter? Granddaughter-in-law? That's what she would be, Princess Catherine. Just the most wonderful thing. And who better to represent Queen Elizabeth than Catherine, who is very similar to Queen Elizabeth, dignified, beautiful, intelligent, stately, discreet, all of the things that the Duke and Duchess of double standards are not, who I'll be coming to in just a second. Now, here's what's gorgeous. Princess Charlotte mirrored her mother's style in a navy dress with white trim and a sailor collar, sparking a fan frenzy online. Meanwhile, George and Prince Louis wore matching dark suits with red ties. They looked sensational. The royal siblings travelled in something called an Ascot Landau, a 4-wheeled carriage dating back to Queen Victoria's reign. That is the history that we'd be giving up if we lost the monarchy. Smiling and waving to the crowds lining the Mall, the family lapped it up. The kids, William and Catherine's children, really seem to enjoy their public role. And I just think that the Prince and Princess of Wales get it right, because they're out there, they have the official photograph, they come to these events, but that's all we hear from them. And we don't get snippets on Instagram of trips to Disneyland or, I don't know, beekeeping. I mean, seriously, the fact that Meghan Markle advertised the fact that she takes her kids beekeeping, incredibly hazardous, but this is the same Meghan Markle who wore high heels 8 months into both her pregnancies. Make it make sense. But this is my favourite bit of today. Apart from King Charles, who wasn't able to do this because of his health, you had Prince William, Princess Anne and Prince Edward all on horseback, participating in the full pageantry with full regalia. They look fantastic. By the way, they must have been boiling hot, because it's a very warm day today in the UK. It must be about 28 degrees. I'm dabbing my brow as we speak. It's a hot day in London and it's humid as well. And just imagine they're wearing the thick uniform and the incredibly hot, these boiling hot hats. They must have been absolutely sweltering. But it was great to see William and Edward alongside each other, and fantastic to see Princess Anne, who I don't think, by the way, would have been a bad queen. There's a little bit of me that if I could sort of reshuffle the DNA pack of the royal family, if I could go back 50, 60, 70 years and reshuffle the pack and play God for a second, I'm not sure that I could resist making Anne the eldest. What do you think? Would Anne have made a great queen? Is Princess Anne the best queen we never had? Let me know in the comments. Don't you think she would have been a rock star queen? She's no nonsense. She doesn't take any rubbish, Princess Anne. She's got a dry sense of humour, but she's got a harsh sense of humour. She's got a rough edge. She takes no nonsense, doesn't suffer fools gladly. She would have been great. Queen Anne, doesn't that sound good? But anyway, look, the king, take nothing away from Charles. He's doing a great job. But I happen to love Princess Anne. I can't help it. It's just how I am. So, you've got the wonderful themes of the day, which is family unity, pride, everyone looking fantastic. And Harry is missing out. Now, here's what I think. He should be there. Harry should be there. Because, frankly, okay, he's not a serving royal, so he doesn't make it to the balcony. Fine. He doesn't get a carriage or horseback. He could get an Uber to the Mall, could he not? Which is an excellent taxi service. There's nothing wrong with Uber. I like the drivers. I always chat with them. I feel pressure to deliver for the drivers because they rate you as well as you rating them. Did you know that? Yeah, because when you finish your ride on an Uber, you rate them, okay? They say, how was your ride? You give them a rating, but they rate you too. So every time I get in an Uber, it feels like a massive audition. The pressure's on, folks. I'm telling jokes, I'm singing songs, I'm doing magic tricks just to get my 5 stars. So why can't Harry jump in an Uber and go down there? And you know what? If he's not on the balcony, and if he's not in a carriage, and he's not on horseback, right? He's in the back of a Toyota Prius. Fine. You know where he could go? He could hang out with the public, because apparently he's an ordinary person now. That's what he's told us. He doesn't want to be a royal anymore. He doesn't want to be a serving this and that. He doesn't want to be Prince this and HRH that. So why don't you prove it, Harry? Why don't you hang out with the public? Because there's no reason why Harry couldn't have jumped on a plane. He loves an airplane. He's just come back from China, which is a vicious totalitarian regime where he's validated that awful autocracy by being there. And because he's flogging his dreadful eco-friendly travel company. There's no such thing as environmentally friendly travel. If you're on an airplane, if you're in a car, if you're on a choo-choo train, you're impacting the environment. There's no such thing as environmentally friendly travel. Anyhow, so he just come back from China. Why can't he jump on a plane from Montecito over to London and just wave a flag? I mean, that would be quite humbling for Charles, because Charles is there in his carriage doing that unusual wave that the royals do, the sort of side wave. And he's going down the mall and he spots a little ginger-haired numpty in the crowd. Okay, with a bit of a depressed look on his face and a little sort of, stubble. It's not a beard, is it? It's just kind of furry little frisson that he's got. Oh, hello, Dad. Happy birthday, Dad. Humpy dumpy dumpy dum. Prince Harry, world's least happy millionaire. Humpy dumpy dumpy dum. And Charles will be like, blow me. Isn't that my son? I don't believe it. Wouldn't that be a great thing if he spotted his own son in the crowd? And at that point, that might make King Charles think, do you know something? Fair play to him, right? He's there with the crowd. He's there with the public. He's keeping it real. He's gone back to basics. He's actually doing what he said he would do, which is become a private citizen. And I think Charles would respect that. And I think Charles would then message Harry and say, come into the palace and let's have a cold beer. Okay? And I think, wouldn't it be the most wonderful thing if Harry had flown there to acknowledge his father's official birthday, and then Charles reaches out and says, listen, we're having beer and sandwiches this evening in one of our big, lovely, stately rooms at Buckingham Palace. And we've got great cucumber sandwiches. We've got tuna and sweet corn, which is personally my favorite. We've got chicken mayo. Listen, don't get me wrong. It's not Wendy's, granted. Okay. It's sub Wendy's, which is America's premium hamburger chain, the Wendy Burger. It's not Wendy's. I don't want to oversell the thing. But the King's cucumber sandwiches aren't to be sniffed at. There'll be sausage rolls. There'll be hors d'oeuvre. Oui, bien sûr, c'est délicieux, les hors d'oeuvre. Très, très délicieux. J'ai faim. Tu as faim? J'ai faim. Et j'ai soif aussi. Pourquoi pas? Invite him in for beer and sandwiches, and the beer, who knows what the beer would be, but I think if they wanted a great beer, they could go for Budweiser, which is the king of beers. But it's up to Charles what he drinks. He might go for something British, such as London Pride, which is a lovely full-bodied ale. So Harry's missing out. He should be there. He could be there. Don't you think that even if he's not invited, he could just be in London? He could fly to London and he could stay, because as I've mentioned in a previous Mark Dolan show, yes, he's got some millions in the bank, but it's my view that in Hollywood terms, Harry is flat broke. He is flat broke. And the outgoings, it costs $3 million a year to be Harry and Meghan. That's what it costs. You've got the security guards, you've got the koi pond at the Montecito mansion. There's a big old mortgage on that mansion as well, by the way. That's not owned outright. They have significant outgoings. And therefore, I think on paper, technically, I don't think Harry's investable, particularly because he's not going to earn a penny for the next 20 years. Because what's he going to do? He's done the book, he's done the TV show. No one wants his TV ideas, which Spotify executives said were embarrassing. So therefore, Harry can't, if he flies to the UK, he'll have to go coach, which would be hilarious. And he'll be sat there next to a couple of ordinary people that he's never seen those people before. Just ordinary, good, honest folk. The great unwashed, as they're known in this country. And he'll probably bore them to tears with telling them how miserable his life is in a 16-bathroom mansion. At one point, the ordinary people, the other passengers will be like, do you mind if I just put my earplugs in? I'm going to take a nap now. They don't want to hear it. You know, they'll be exciting at first to sit next to Prince Harry, but how long is that LA to London? Is that a sort of 8-hour flight? After about 20 minutes, they're done. It's like, thanks, but no thanks. Just slam on a Tom Cruise movie and take a little nap. Rather than listening to him moaning about how terrible his life is. So I think he could fly to London and he could stay. He's on a budget, so I think he could stay at a Holiday Inn Express. There's nothing wrong with the Holiday Inn Express. You get a continental breakfast, okay? It's not a cooked breakfast, but you get croissant, c'est pas mal, c'est délicieux, and you get toast, you get jam, it's not going to be Meghan's jam. It'll be hygienic, because Meghan's jam is I think it's unhygienic. Because I think she's made it. It's got her eyelashes in there and locks of her hair. Plus, she's a klutz in the kitchen, isn't she? She's a klutz in the kitchen. She's a klutz in the kitchen. What am I gonna do? She's a klutz in the kitchen. What am I gonna do? If you saw her TV show, she spills the milk. Stuff falls on the floor. Meghan strikes me as one of those people that if something fell on the floor, like she's cooking dinner, I think she'd put it back in the pan and serve it. I think she's one of those. See, I would dispose of it because I don't want to give people food poisoning. But Meghan would just serve it. And you'd be eating your steak cooked by Meghan for my husband. My husband! And you're eating the steak and it's got like dog hairs on it. And just, house dust. And germs. Just disgusting. Thanks, but no thanks. So Harry could stay at the Holiday Inn Express, which is fine. You get a continental breakfast. You get an apple and an orange. And what else you get? Orange juice, of course. Unlimited coffee, bottomless coffee, which might give him a bit of energy and cheer him up. Flat screen TV, a big bed. I mean, what's not to like for Harry for the H-bomb? So he should come to London and he should just demonstrate that he's supporting his father, even if he's not invited. And I just know that if it was my father, I would be in the city where he's celebrating his birthday. Even if I wasn't invited, I would make a statement by being here, and I'd even do a public message. Can I just say, not a squeak out of Harry or Meghan about Charles's birthday. Not a squeak. This is a snub. And frankly, it's an act of war. This is diplomatic war. They have said nothing about Charles's birthday on social media. And this is Meghan Markle, who lives on social media and endlessly puts pictures of Archie and Lily on the internet. But today, nothing. Deafening silence. By the way, just addressing one or two technical issues today. So I'm going to have a look at that and make sure it doesn't happen. The next show, by the way, is going to be Monday the 16th of June. So no show tomorrow, Sunday, and then we are back on Monday the 16th. You might use the weekend, if you've got time, to catch up on some previous episodes, because I've been dropping a lot of royal truth bombs recently. So apologies if there are technical problems. It's not your computer, it is mine, but we'll fix it. That's what should have happened, is that Harry should be here, staying at a budget hotel. And the other thing is that Meghan should be with him because she's his wife. But have you noticed she doesn't travel with him anymore? She didn't go to China. She skipped Valentine's in Canada for Invictus when they could have been together. Why? Because they're on divorce watch. The guys are on borrowed time. But she should be there to support him and to acknowledge her father-in-law, King Charles. But she doesn't acknowledge fathers or father-in-laws. She's gaslit her own father, Thomas Markle, who lives on the 7th floor of a high-rise apartment in the Philippines. He's in the Philippines, and he's overlooking a multi-lane highway where environmentally unfriendly cars are just pinging into the distance. That's his fate. He's ignored and gaslit. He's got no air conditioning in that apartment, I'm told. So he's sweating his knackers off in a country where a third of the people live below the poverty line, and he's not far from that poverty line himself. Could Meghan care? No, because she's heartless. And poor King Charles gets no acknowledgement on his birthday from the couple on their website. I've been on their website. I've been on their Instagram, which is disgustingly called Sussex Royal. There's nothing royal about you two. You're a right royal embarrassment. But Meghan should be there, and she should be supporting her husband. She should be in the crowd too. It wouldn't kill her to meet some ordinary people, would it? Although she'd probably bristle just at the thought of it. And what she could do is she could give King Charles her jam, because he needs a present, right? It's his birthday. So she could bring some of her famous, disgusting eyelash jam, her honey, her clean vegetables, which came out of the soil this morning, and they're all in season on the same day and miraculously clean. And she could give King Charles a jar of her flour sprinkles. Poor King Charles doesn't enjoy the best of health at the moment. He's battling a serious disease. I do fear the flour sprinkles would finish him off once and for all, because I think those flour sprinkles are toxic, hallucinogenic, and people aren't supposed to eat flowers. But the whole point is that Harry should be there and he's not there, and that is a victory for Meghan Markle. She is so happy. She sips her latte today. Little sip of the latte, little fist pump. She knows she's won because she's torn the family apart. Harry should be there. He should be on the balcony. He should be on a horse with Anne and with Edward and with William. And he should be participating in every aspect of today. He gave it all up. Biggest mistake of his life. He married someone in Meghan Markle who decided to vandalize the family, vandalize the country with egregious allegations, and vandalize the monarchy itself. Today was a family event, and it demonstrates just how against family values Harry and Meghan actually are. And woe betide anyone that tries to defend them. It's an absolute disgrace. So there you are, folks. It's been great to chat. No video tomorrow. We're back on Monday, and lots of great stories brewing. Have a great weekend. I'll see you soon, and long live King Charles III.